I'm 87 years old, and if there's one thing I wish I could buy back, it's not money, it's not status, it's not recognition, it's time. Because what took me nearly 9 decades to understand is that time doesn't disappear all at once. It's stolen little by little, quietly, by habits that seem harmless, by decisions that seem responsible, by choices that everyone applauds. After 50, you begin to feel that the clock moves differently. But the problem isn't age. The problem is continuing to live as if you still have 50 years ahead of you to fix everything. I did that. I worked, I accepted, I tolerated, I postponed. I waited for the right moment, and when I finally realized it, the moment had already passed. Today, I want to show you the 7 things that are stealing your time after 50. Things that seem normal, things you might be doing right now, and that you only notice too late when there's no more negotiating with the calendar. Stay with me, because the last one might be the one costing you the most, and you still haven't realized it. There is a lie we accept after 50. The idea that there's still time for everything. That there will be time later to fix relationships, to take care of your health, to live the way you really want to live. But that later keeps getting shorter. And even so, you continue acting as if you're depositing time into a savings account. The truth is simple and hard. After 50, what steals your time isn't major tragedies, it's small daily leaks. It's not one massive mistake. It's the constant repetition of decisions that seem prudent, but are slowly pulling you away from what truly matters. It's accepting commitments you no longer want to carry. It's holding on to roles that no longer fit who you've become. It's insisting on proving something to people who aren't even paying attention anymore. It took me decades to realize that time isn't only lost when you fail. It's also lost when you live on autopilot. When you wake up, follow the schedule, solve problems, pay bills, keep up appearances, and go to bed with the feeling that the day has passed, but you weren't really in it. After 50, every choice carries more weight because you're no longer building from scratch. You're deciding what still deserves space in the final stretch of your life. And the question almost no one asks is, does what I'm doing today still deserve my time? Let me show you where this theft begins. The first thing that starts stealing your time after 50 is continuing to try to please everyone. You already have a story, you already have scars, you already know what works for you, and even so, you keep adjusting your life to fit other people's expectations. It's the child you don't want to disappoint, the friend you don't want to frustrate, the family that always expects you to be the strong one, the available one, the understanding one. I lived like that for years. I said yes when I wanted to say no. I accepted commitments that drained me. I kept conversations going that no longer made sense. And I always convinced myself I was being generous. But there is a difference between generosity and self-abandonment. Generosity strengthens you. Self-abandonment exhausts you. The law phrase I learned too late is this: every time you live to meet other people's expectations, you stop showing up for your own life. And after 50, that cost becomes far too high. The application is simple but uncomfortable. Start asking yourself before agreeing to anything, do I truly want this, or am I just trying to avoid disappointing someone? The time you save by saying an honest no may be the time that spares you years of silent wear and tear. And if you think this isn't affecting you, wait until you see the next thing that looks like responsibility, but is quietly draining your life. The second thing that steals your time after 50 is postponing difficult conversations. You tell yourself It's not worth creating conflict right now, that it's better to leave things as they are, that everything feels too calm to stir it up. But what you call peace is often just accumulated silence. I postponed important conversations with people I loved. I chose to preserve superficial harmony rather than face the discomfort of the truth. And what I discovered, too late, is that time does not fix what courage avoids. It only thickens the layers of resentment, misunderstanding, and distance. There's a simple law here. What isn't said at the right time turns into permanent distance. After 50, you've already seen relationships drift apart over small things that were never clarified. And the problem isn't the argument, it's the lack of clarity. The practical application is straightforward. Identify one conversation you've been postponing for months or even years. Not to accuse, not to win, but to clarify. Be objective, be honest, and be brief. You'll discover that a 20-minute conversation can save years of heavy silence. And while you keep postponing these conversations, something else is happening in parallel, something even more dangerous, because it looks like discipline, but it's just fear in disguise. The third thing that steals your time after 50 is continuing to live as if work was still the absolute center of your identity. You've already built a career, proven your competence, carried responsibilities for decades, and yet you still act as if everything depends exclusively on your constant effort. I used to think that way too. I told myself it was about security, stability, responsibility, but in reality, I was using work as an excuse to avoid looking at other areas of my life. While I was accumulating results, I was failing to accumulate presence. I was always too busy to sit calmly, to listen without rushing, to simply be. The law I learned is a hard one. After 50, working too much is not a sign of strength. It's a sign of attachment to something that should already be balanced. If you still measure your worth solely by productivity, you're trading lifetime for delayed validation. The application is concrete. Redefine what a productive day means. Include quality time with the people who matter. Include care for your health. Include moments of silence.
If your calendar is filled only with external commitments and no space for yourself, your time is already being stolen, and you're still calling it responsibility.
And there is something even more subtle than overwork. Something that looks like prudence, but may be keeping you stuck in the past. The fourth thing that steals your time after 50 is living trapped in the past. It can be regret, it can be guilt, it can be excessive nostalgia for a phase that has already ended. You start comparing the present to what was, or to what could have been, and without realizing it, you spend more time reliving memories than building the days you still have left. I did that for years. I replayed in my mind decisions I made at 40, at 50, at 60. I kept thinking about how things might have turned out if I had chosen differently, spoken differently, taken different risks. And while I was reviewing the past as if I could edit it, the present was happening without me. There's a rule here that almost no one accepts. Remembering isn't the problem, living there is. The past is meant to be a lesson, not a permanent residence. After 50, one conscious day is worth more than 10 years of repeated regret. The practical application is simple and direct. When you notice you're stuck on an old mistake, ask yourself, what can this memory teach me today? Extract the lesson and close the mental loop. Don't turn memory into identity. You are not your worst mistake, nor your best moment. You are what you choose to do now. And while some people remain stuck in what has already passed. Others keep waiting for something that may never come, believing there is still a perfect moment to start truly living. The fifth thing that steals your time after 50 is waiting for the perfect moment. You start telling yourself you'll travel when things calm down, that you'll change your routine once your finances are organized, that you'll take care of your body when you have more energy. There's always a condition that needs to be solved before you begin living the way you truly want. And I spent years waiting for that ideal alignment. I believed I needed to feel total security, total clarity, total stability. But the perfect moment is a comfortable illusion. It keeps you still while life keeps moving. And after 50, each year of waiting weighs more than 10 years of doubt in your youth. The law is simple. Those who wait for absolute security trade movement for stagnation. You don't need complete certainty to act. You need sufficient decision. The application is practical. Choose something you've been postponing and take a small but concrete step this week. It's not about changing everything at once. It's about breaking the pattern of delay. Time does not respect future plans. It only responds to present actions. And if waiting for the perfect moment already consumes years, there is something even more common that looks like maturity, but is actually fear of change. The sixth thing that steals your time after 50 is maintaining relationships out of habit. It's not love. It's not real partnership. It's routine. It's accumulated history. It's fear of starting over. You remain present in environments where you no longer feel whole. You keep talking to people who no longer share your values, and you call that loyalty. I did that too. I stayed in relationships that had already completed their cycle, but I insisted on sustaining them out of memory, convenience, and fear of other people's judgment. The problem is that every forced interaction consumed emotional energy that could have been invested in more honest connections. The law here is clear. Time invested in empty relationships is time taken away from relationships that could truly flourish. After 50, you already know the difference between real connection and automatic coexistence. Pretending you don't know is a choice and an expensive one. The application is direct. Evaluate your relationships with one simple question. Can I truly be who I am here? If the answer is no, it's time to adjust boundaries, redefine closeness, or, in some cases, close certain chapters. Maturity is not about keeping everything. It's about choosing with awareness. And even after adjusting your relationships, there is still something else that may be silently draining your days, something you might consider normal, but that is slowly eroding your energy. The seventh thing that is stealing your time after 50 is neglecting your own health while keeping every other area of your life running. You meet your commitments, solve problems, help others, keep the house in order, but you postpone checkups, ignore your body's signals, normalize constant fatigue, and call it just a phase. I did exactly that. I always said I would schedule the appointment later, that the pain was temporary, that poor sleep was just stress, until one day, the body demands payment. And when it does, it doesn't accept excuses. After 50, the body doesn't scream first. It whispers. And if you ignore the whisper, you eventually hear the impact. The law I learned the hard way is this: neglected health turns into shortened time. It doesn't matter how much you've achieved if your body can't keep up. None of it holds. The application is straightforward. Stop treating self-care as a luxury or vanity. Schedule the exam you've been postponing. Adjust your diet. Add movement to your routine. Protect your sleep the way you protect your money. Because without health, everything else loses value. And when you put all 7 of these things together, you realize the real theft isn't visible. It happens while you still believe you're in control. I am 87 years old, and looking back, I don't just see big mistakes. I see small concessions repeated for decades. I see unnecessary yeses, accumulated silences, excessive work, endless waiting, relationships maintained out of habit, and warning signs from my body ignored. None of these seemed serious on their own, but together they stole years I believed I still had. The truth is simple. After 50, time is no longer a promise. It's an asset, and poorly managed assets are lost. You don't need to turn your life upside down tomorrow, but you do need to stop pretending these leaks are normal. Every conscious adjustment you make today is a year you save in the future. So let me leave you with a direct question. Which of these 7 things will you continue to tolerate, even knowing the cost? Decide now to cut at least one of them. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who also needs to hear it.